Welcome to the Quill Kettle podcast, where intuition meets industry. Join me as I sit down with authors, editors, designers, and other publishing professionals for tarot-guided interviews that blend business, psychology, and magic to dive deep into what it really takes to build a sustainable and inspiring creative career. Each interview is guided by a 5-card tarot spread that I've created specifically for this show. The cards are interpreted through an archetypal lens rather than used for divination. The intention held while pulling the cards for each interview is you, the listener. I hope each episode brings you closer to finding your own aligned path to a creative career that fits your life. Today I'm sitting down with powerhouse Regina Wamba. Regina is a book cover designer and exclusive stock photographer serving authors, publishers worldwide with over 16 years of experience, multiple awards, and hundreds of titles translated to world markets. Regina is what is considered an industry dinosaur, and she's only just kind of joking. What started in 2009 as a survival hustle while pregnant and on welfare has evolved into a thriving multi-six-figure business. Beyond serving authors with dramatic, story-driven imagery, Regina teaches creative entrepreneurs how to make book covers, creative businesses, and photography through online courses and mentorship. Using positivity, confidence, and caffeinated delusion, she inspires creatives to transform their talents into profitable empires, proving that with the right mix of determination and creative crazy, you can build something extraordinary. The core message in our conversation today is carried by the Knight of Cups, reversed, which suggests a desire to chase our dreams, but possibly becoming stuck inside of them, unable to move forward. In the unconscious wing, we have the Ace of Swords reversed. Our truth is sitting just below the surface, not quite ready to be seen. We can bridge this gap, though, through the Page of Cups by reconnecting with our inner curiosity. In the conscious wing, we have the Fool, the creative who has been through it, has seen the cycles again and again, but still holds faith in the process and is ready to try again. This is brought back to the conversation by way of the King of Swords, action, authority, and strategic thinking. This spread is dominated by Cups and Swords, the emotion versus the thinking, and how delicately they are balanced when building a creative empire. So let's get into it. I've been following your career for forever, and yeah, just like the fact that you agreed to sit down with me is very, very exciting. So I guess to start off, just introduce yourself and what you do and this creative empire that you're building.
All right. I'm Regina Wamba. I have been in the creative realm for, well, my whole life. I really started out as an artist. I mean, I don't think that I was ever seen without like a set sketch pad of some sort or, something.
Hmm.
So I've been an artist my whole life, but then in 2009 I got laid off from my job, my graphic design job, and decided to eat books for breakfast. So that kind of just led me to be an avid reader and making art based off what I was reading. And that kind of just snowballed into me being a book cover designer in a very pop in time because that was kind of the self publishing boom. Um, so I'm a book cover designer. That's what I'm probably most known for. But that evolved into photography and video, along with many other things because I do have a couple other like dips businesses in the creative publishing arena.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's actually interesting because I thought you were a photographer first and then got into book cover design. So what got you into the photography side of things after
Well,
design?
if we want to be
Shitty stock photos?
technical, yeah, if we want to be technical, yes, I did pick up a camera first.
Okay.
It was in high school when uh, I was still in, like we were still doing dark rooms and film, so
Hmm.
that was fun. It's actually very therapeutic, but try being, like, a 16-year-old in a townhome, and I have to duct tape my door shut to be able to do my projects in the dark. Do you know
Hmm.
how hard that is? Because I didn't have red light,
Yeah.
I just did everything in the dark.
Oh, wow.
So technically, I started with photography, and I did all the traditional stuff like, "Here, let me take pictures of this flower on the random side of the road," and that's a very interesting, I don't know, hummingbird voila thing that's coming off somebody's house. I did all that crazy stuff. Um, but when I got my graphic design degree, um, and and then I started, like, getting into book cover design, I was on DeviantArt, and there was a whole bunch of stock photos, like, photos that people were just, like, resources, references, things like that. So I was using their stuff, obviously, with credit and everything, to make these art pieces that I was reading about. Um And then when I started getting into book cover design, the stock world was very, very commercial. Like, it would
Mhm.
just like there wasn't diversity. It was just a bunch of
No.
yeah, I mean, and paranormal romance was really, really popping at that time. So,
Mhm.
we needed Asian girls with swords, and we needed black women in princess dresses, and um we needed couples that didn't look
Mhm.
cheesy, like, super cheesy.
Yeah.
So it kinda was like, "Well, I can't find it. I have a camera, so let me just find people to shoot," and so that evolved. So it's like I had the first snowball of book cover design, and then I had the second snowball of stock photos, or exclusive shoots for authors because there literally was nothing that represented their characters.
Mhm.
Um, and then obviously that snowballed into video because, need, like, hey, commercials, hey, social media, hey, marketing,
Yeah.
of these characters. And of course, commercial video is just as bad as stock
Oh,
photos. So, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes
the
even
cheese out there
worse.
is like burn my eyeballs. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Looking for, like, a short little video clip of, like, a romantic couple or something like that, and you're like,
Yeah. Well, that's why I
"No."
created story socials because I was like,
Yeah.
this hurts my eyes and my heart because I
Mhm.
know that, like, I know. So being in the industry this long, most of my clients are writing romance in some capacity. So
Mhm.
love is love is love is love, right?
Mhm.
You go out into the, like, stock world and those videos aren't being made by people who are in the industry that I'm in. They're being made for commercial purposes, like, I don't know, a videographer needs a couple's photo for some romance brand or a ring commercial or
Mhm.
something like that. So it's very, not specific to the realm of romance,
Mhm.
specifically in books. So
Yeah.
you start to understand, like, the tropes and the nuances of different types of romance, from paranormal to romantasy to just contemporary and small town, and, like, they have all these little, um, pockets. And once you understand those pockets, then you start to realize how the stock industry really um, doesn't play for this huge piece
Mhm.
of, the creative storytelling realm. Like, the publishing industry is a huge realm,
Mhm.
but nobody's playing in the game. Not really, except for
Yeah.
AI. AI's here now.
Yeah. Well, I have feelings.
Yeah,
I have
we all
feelings.
have feelings. We all have
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, so like, actual education is in design as well. I studied visual communications, which was kind of a blending of fine art, graphic design, and new media. So I did a lot of, like, the experimental filmmaking and designing, and, like, when I started designing, I actually fell into it accidentally. When I published my first book, I designed my own cover because 'cause I'm like, "Hey, I'll save some money." I am a designer, I will design my own cover, and I actually got more attention for my cover than the book itself. So I was like, "Okay, like, I'll get," that book did well. It came out in 2012 and, the boom, the golden
The
age
boom. The
of
golden age.
self-publishing,
I
which
know.
is what I like to refer to it as, and so I published that book and it did well. But a lot of authors were messaging me and asking me who did my cover, and I was like, "Oh, I did." And they're like, "Well, will you do my cover?" And I'm like, I guess so. Like, do you have
Sure.
50 bucks?
Yeah,
Give me
I know.
50
It's
bucks, I'll do your
basically what
cover,
it
right?"
yeah. Yeah, it's
And then
basically
it
what it
just
started
kind of
at.
yeah, so I always say I accidentally started a cover design business, but,
Same.
I I ventured away from that more into the write because the writing is sort of my thing. But, yeah, I remember the stock photo stuff because I would go on and I would see this photo and there would be like one beautiful photo out of like 5 billion. And I always had this debate with myself where I was like, ugh, I'm not going to use it because within 6 months, every single
Everyone
romance
was
book
using it.
that comes out is going to have this specific couple on them. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
it's the, what was it called? The white people almost kissing is
Uh-huh. Yeah,
the,
it was the
like,
Noah Sparks, what's his name? Yeah, the
Nicholas
like, white
Sparks.
people almost Nicholas Sparks, yeah, I'm like,
Hmm.
"There's an N somewhere." Nicholas Sparks, "White people almost kissing." And
Yeah.
you look yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it
So that,
sells, so
yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But then when you're like it almost became like painful to do these covers because I am not a photographer and I had no interest in moving forward within the graphic design realm. And so like eventually I was like, I can't. Like who would have thought that I would say eventually like looking at half naked men photos was just exhausting. I couldn't do it anymore. It was exhausting, and so I'm like, "I'm out, I'm going." So for you in creating the photography and moving through and I know you have your own stock photo or your own mock photo? Anyways, talk more about that. How did you get into that, and what kind of gave you, like, the inspiration, the encouragement, the excitement to do that and go full into exclusive cover design?
Well, I'm a multi-passionate, so I can't personally do one thing. I have to have my brain needs to split in multi I need to have my hands dirty. Like,
Mhm.
I need to keep creative in multiple pots, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. It can be exhausting just having that
Yeah, I hear that.
talent. Talent.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you know, I when I see a need, I like to fill the need.
Mhm.
That doesn't go for anything. I mean, obviously, it's for me, it's gotta connect, but more so that it needs to feel something. I need to feel something when I'm creating these different, pockets, I guess, pocket businesses that kind of interweave together because 'cause they're all connected.
Mhm.
But I created, um well, okay. So I started with the book cover design, and then when I couldn't find stock photos, I created a stock site, an exclusive stock site. So that's exclusivebookstock.com. I know it's super creative. I love it.
Yeah.
But
Gets the job done.
I'm like I should change it, but then I'm like I don't know what to change it to.
Yeah.
Um, so that's all exclusive photos because the industry got so saturated with using the same damn photo over and over and over again
Mhm.
that I wanted to create images that had more emotion to them, tailored to the industry.
Mhm.
So that still does really well for me. And it's all about just following like trends. Obviously, there's a whole illustrated trend right now, so people covers aren't as popular, but I think they're starting to trend back. That's just a topic for another day. But um, then I created a flat lay marketing company called The Image Apothecary, which
I've
I'm
heard.
sure you know that one? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so the imageapothecary.com, is flat lays or stylized sets for the industry. So they're all
Mhm.
like blank books, blank phones or devices that have a stylized set around them so that it makes marketing books easier. That was created just because I was like, how are people actually like sharing this? A lot of people don't have the skills to go and put these flat lays together or at least market their books that doesn't look like, oh, okay, a cup of coffee in your book. Okay, well, everybody does that. Or everybody
Yeah.
tries to do that. Or what happens in the publishing industry when you want to market your book before you even have a print?
Yeah.
So I created the concept of like, well, here's this mock-up that you can place your book into before you even have a physical book
Mhm.
ready. And so like pre-launches and pre-sales and coming soons and things like that. That's what the Image Apothecary was built around. Um, but again, stylized for different concepts. So
Mhm.
country romance and sci-fi is kind of hard. I'm not going to lie because
I know I write
that's a
sci-fi.
topic for another. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to
It's
create
hard.
sci-fi.
It is.
Yes. Um, Still a challenge I have in my mind. I have a few ideas, but that's
Nice.
neither here or there. Um, but it's all stylized around different concepts, and so a lot of romance, fantasy, it's actually like, when I think about it, I'm like, "Wow, that's, like, actually hard." You take an idea and you break it down into things that you can purchase to put a stylized set together that can actually market a book. It's
And
very
that's actually
interesting.
it's patience as well, right? Like, for I have no patience to do that kinda stuff, and I'm not a like, I always say I'm not a, like, tchotchkes kind of gal. Like, I don't have a lot of stuff. I like my daughter loves, like, trinkets. She loves trinkets and doodads, and she loves fake flowers, and she gets all these little things. So maybe eventually she'll have enough stuff that I could borrow them to use, but, like, for the most part, I don't have the patience to do that. So it's just so nice to have something already done, somebody who has an eye for composition, for detail, and
Mhm,
those
mhm.
things. Like, I always say that, everything costs either time or money, and so, like, and with the self-publishing, space, I remember I got into self-publishing because I was, like, new and, some might argue a little slightly arrogant, and I was like, "I can do this all for myself. I'll do it all
I can do
myself, and I'm gonna be
everything.
total control because it's just me and my vision and my" all that. And now I'm, 12 years in, and I'm like, "Please take my money and do this for me. I don't wanna do it."
Right. Exactly, exactly, and so having these, like, different tools and everything, really helps, like, just alleviate part of the different if you think about any business, right? Any business, you're going to have marketing, you're gonna have advertising, you're gonna have, admin, you're gonna have, I mean, like, accounting, you have all of these different, like, pieces to the
Mhm.
whole.
Yeah.
12 years in, you're like, "I don't want to deal with all the pieces. Let me
No.
take a piece or 2, and
Yeah.
everybody else can do the rest of the pieces." And so when you have those resources, it's like, "Okay, just go here, get what you
Yeah.
need, and send me the done things. I wanna be
Yeah,
let me focus on my, like, actual craft. Like, what am I good at?
yeah.
Let me focus on that." And that's the writing part, or that's the creating part, or, you know?
Yeah, and other people are good at stuff and just let them be good at what they're good at, right? Like, that's where the giving up control, I think, in the specifically for self-publishing and for a lot of authors that I know, there's that, and I don't know, we can speak to that in your cover design as well, but this, I noticed when I was designing covers and for myself, this sort of, like, really latching on to an idea that's not exactly what the character looks like, that's not exactly, like, this in my mind, for someone who is super creative, I everything in my head is so perfectly vivid. It's vivid and
Mhm.
it's luscious and it's thick and it's gorgeous, and then I could just never quite get it on like, that you designed a cover for me, and it because like, I was trying and trying, I'm like, "I can't do this. I can't, like, it's too complicated. I'm too close to these characters. I'm too close to
Yes.
this situation that I'm not looking at it because I am a designer and an author, I understand that covers are promotional art. They are meant
Yes.
to give a feeling to the audience, to the readers to
It's
say,
an
"What
entry.
vibes are you getting?" Yeah, not
Mhm.
a detail by detail scene, replicator, right?
Mm,
And so that's always
correct.
the hard part. So in that process, like, I guess, how do you work with that with authors? 'Cause, you don't write, right?
I do I mean, I write, but I haven't, like, published anything. I don't
Oh,
write books. Like, we'll just put it like
okay.
that. I don't write books. I write more like, um, emotive, motivational poetry, kind of dabbling
Okay.
in that, realm. So, but this is what I teach. So, like, I teach people how to do book cover design, um, and one of, like, the foundational things when you are starting, a project, especially if you're working with a client, right, is to get out of your head, like, guiding, your client through, like, "Okay, it doesn't have to be exact, and we don't need to tell the whole story on the cover." It
Mhm,
is meant to be a curious entry. So curiosity sells in a way,
mhm,
emotion sells, right? So when you give enough, like, curiosity to be like, "Oh, what's that?" Or "What's
mhm,
next?" It's like a really good blurb, right? Or a really
right.
good prologue. You are hooking people, right? Those
Mhm.
few little moments that people get is an entry into what's coming. And if you tell everything on the cover, you're giving it away.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, okay, well, that doesn't really fit my vibe. It's not really what I'm after." But they could be missing a really epic story, but because you sold everything in the front, you
Yeah.
don't have the story to sell. I just guide them to be like,
And
"Okay, like, let's take points, break down these points, and find little things that could be Easter eggs or pivotal points in the story that bring enough curiosity to lure someone in."
Mhm.
And that is the mystery, and it's not a huge, like, aha. It is actually just psychology, really,
Yeah.
but in a visual form.
Yeah, yeah, and I was gonna mention too, there's also the confusion aspect, like, it has to be very clear, and I find that a lot of times when, everything in the kitchen sink kind of is thrown into a cover, it's often
It's
very
overwhelm.
confusing, and it could be a perfect replica of a scene. I remember I had an author hire me to do a cover, and she wanted it this very specific way. She wanted, like, the person placed here and all of these little things. She wanted me to Photoshop in all these little bits and bobs and pieces and things, and I'm like, "That's not gonna work. It's too cluttered, it's too co" whatever. She fired me and went and had someone else do it, and then, when I noticed, the book came out, and within 2 weeks, the cover had changed. And I think there was this moment of, like, for me, she was just really set in her ways, and she really wanted that control over that cover, and she thought it would be perfect because it was a scene. There was a scene
Right.
near the end of her book, and it was this specific way, and I was like, "Well, nobody knows that. People who haven't you know that because you wrote the book. Your friends know that because they
Mhm.
read the book already, but, like, the average reader scrolling through Amazon
Mm,
or wandering through a bookstore, they don't know how clever that it is that you
that
had all
scene,
these little
right.
details in the cover until they read it, but you need to get them to read it before it's kind of
How
a
do you
chicken
and
and
right,
egg.
how do you lure them into reading the book? It's not
Mhm.
necessarily by showing them the story, it's showing them what could be, and
Uh-huh.
mystery is what intrigues people to click.
Yeah.
Mystery is what intrigues people to find out more. And so when we're able as designers to take a concept, literally a thought, an idea, and, like, kudos to authors because you guys build worlds in your mind and then put them on paper, and then we translate them into, like, moving pictures in our head. Um,
Mhm.
we take we take those little pieces that could be and convert them into imagery that's mysterious enough, balanced enough. Like, there's a box that fits, right? That you those
Mhm.
there are constraints that fit, like, what a good design is. And we take that information and we convert it into a visual that's mysterious enough to sell. But if you're doing everything literally, you're gonna
Mhm.
find that there isn't enough mystery for someone to be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to know what that's
What does
about."
that mean, right?
Right, and look at historical data, like, you're going to see that some of the best designs in the world or some of the best, artworks, there's mystery to it. It's not
Mhm.
literal, especially when it's something to
Yeah.
sell, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. You are giving your first, entry into a sale. You created this book to sell,
Mhm.
so you should have something that actually sells for you.
Yeah.
And you can't be literal in giving the whole story away and having 18,000 different trinkets, or, like, the exact sword or the exact dagger or the exact,
Mhm.
height or the most perfect tattoo, like, I mean, I've seen it all in my 17 years. So,
Yeah. Yes, his eyes aren't quite that color of blue. They're more of a cerulean blue, not an azure blue, and you're like, "Oh my god, no one cares.
n no
No
one's
one
looking at
cares."
it. No one's looking at it.
And they don't
I can
know. They
guarantee you.
don't know. I
And
had a friend
they
who her cover on her cover, she it was the perfect cover for the vibe of her book, but the character on the cover had brown hair, and her character in the book was blonde. Literally 1 review out of thousands mentioned that the cover and the book didn't match up with descriptions, but the
one.
vibe and 1 out of thousands. Like, her
Mhm.
book did really well, and one person was like, "Oh, but the cover character had brown hair, and she had blonde hair, and that confused me." And that was it. It wasn't even like 1 star, "This sucks because the cover is wrong," right? It was just like, "Oh, that was an odd detail that I noticed." Nobody
Right.
else nobody else
No,
cared.
nobody else.
It was a perfect
Nobody else
vibe for the
because
cover.
and that's the thing is people get hooked like, really, 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 like, stuck on those
Mhm.
things, and as a designer, yes, they matter, but not so much
Yeah.
to the point that it's a make or break deal.
Mhm.
It is like, if it fits the vibe
Yeah.
and it's gonna sell for you, I would rather it sell for you than not.
Yeah, and
'Cause that's
this
the
I
whole
think
point
this
of us
author
being
Yeah, I think this author, asked her designer to try and make the character blonde, but it just looked really fake. Like, the designer just didn't quite have the chops at that point to do it, or maybe they just
mhm.
said it would take too much time and it would cost more money, and the author
I
just
mean, depending
decided.
what version of Photoshop we were in and at what era we were in, it probably
This was over a
yeah.
decade ago, so I'm
Yeah,
guessing it,
yeah,
like
okay, so, yeah, that's when, like, it turns 10 years ago, turning someone from dark to blonde would be,
Yeah.
um, hellish. I remember
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been through that. 10 years ago,
Mhm.
that was hard.
Oh, it takes
Nowadays, not so
hours.
much. Yes,
I
yes.
know nowadays you just do the, like, mat just put it over and all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's all changed. Yeah, it is quite
Beautiful.
magical.
Yes.
So I'm curious now about,
Mhm.
uh because if there are authors listening, let's say, who are, getting ready to have their cover designed. As a cover designer, when authors come to you and say, "Can you design my cover?" What do you wish they would give you? What information do you often not get that you wish that you did get from an author to make your job as a cover designer, like, fun and creative and effective?
Well, a lot of people just come to me and be like, "Can you design my book cover?" That's literally all they ask, and I have to come back to them and be like, "Okay, maybe." But it really depends on, like, what are you writing? How soon do you need it completed by? Do you have a timeline in which you're publishing? Um, there's some genres that I'm just not as good at that others might be good at.
Mhm.
So, like, what are you writing? Who's your target audience? Um, is there, a vibe you're already, like, feeling? Because, you're gonna have your preferences, as an author, you could be writing something really light and fluffy and romantic or comedic or something like that, and that's a completely different vibe than, I don't know, a dark romantic fantasy,
Mhm.
where there's a lot more blood or violence and sex and things like that. So it's completely different. So I would love to know your vibe. Like, what are you
Right.
feeling? What your genre is? Are we adult? Or are we young adult? Because those things matter when I'm creating something that's going to sell for you.
Mhm.
So a lot
Yeah,
of the times they're like, "Can you design something?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's my job, but what am I designing? Who am I designing it
right.
for? And how can I sell it?" Because there are completely different, toolboxes that I use for each, you know, genre and category and again, I'm creating something that's supposed to sell for you. So the more
Mhm.
not I don't need your novel. I'm not gonna read
Yeah.
your novel. Um but a little bit more information just based on, like, what you're looking for, when you're looking for it, and then I can guide from there, like, "Okay, so once we get into the nitty-gritty, I have a beautiful questionnaire that kind of asks questions that help me pull information
Mhm.
without having to read the novel," because then I get too close. I used to do that back in the day, like, way back in the
Oh,
day.
okay. Right.
I used to read the novels, but then I got close, and I
Mm.
don't wanna get too close. I wanna be able to pull things and use my actual talent of seeing without seeing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, your questionnaire is fantastic and, definitely gets people thinking. Sometimes there's, like I find with authors being an author and also being on the other side with the designing, there's this I think sometimes there's this level of control. I want everything that done this way very specifically, and I'm gonna tell you, like, when I went to school, they used to call them Mac monkeys, where you just like, where you're not actually designing, you're just doing what people tell you to do. right? Like, I want
Yeah.
the cover purple, and I want this person on the cover, and I want this font, and I want that. You're not really
Yes.
designing, you're just kind of Mac
Exactly.
monkeying, right? You're just doing it.
Yes.
And then there's the other side of the spectrum where it's like, "Well, I don't, like, wanna influence you, I don't wanna tell you, I don't
Mhm.
know, like, you're the professional, you just do your thing," right?
Mhm.
And, where is the kind of middle ground if there's an author who's about to reach out to a cover designer or is going through the process of cover design? Like, what are some things that you like to hear from an author? One thing for me, I used to always tell clients that I'm a professional sense maker. Like, because people would be like, "Well, I just ramble." And I'm like, "Ramble. My job is to pull things
Pull
from
the
that ramble
information.
and make it make sense." That's basically what you do as a designer. So, like,
Mhm.
how do you kind of get your clients to feel comfortable, like, telling you things about their story?
That isn't overload.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
yes, because you can easily ramble and then nothing really visually makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So if you're just telling me, like, the overarch of the story, that's great if you're trying to sell a book, right? You're
Mhm.
not trying to sell me the book.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get to a visual that sells the book for you
Right.
through your through your refined blurb process. I think the information that I find that's more interesting is kind of story details. So this is in the questionnaire. I personally want to know the undertone. Like, is this kind of gritty? Are
Mhm.
we what time frame, like what time zone design time frame are we in? Like, are we
Yeah.
historically like mobster grit?
Right.
Are
Yeah.
we sci-fi futuristic? But maybe it's more, instead of sci-fi futuristic, like grunge or dark, where maybe it's ethereal or light. So me, I like to find the mood. Like, I want to
Mhm.
know what the undertone of the story is, because that kind of sets like the foundation for me. So I really want
Right.
to know, is it light or dark? Like, that's like the foundational piece for me. And then I start asking, like, okay, give me character details, but I don't want perfect descriptions. Yeah, you can give them to me, but it's not usually what I'm after. What I'm after is, what are their nuances? What are their quirks? Do they carry a certain weapon? Do they do something funny? Do they wear the same pair of sneakers with the heart
Mm.
Sharpie on it? Like, I want to know the little details that make your characters human,
Okay.
or make them talented, or make them the superhero, or whatever. Like, oh, she carries a red stoned heart dagger. That way, I now am moving into, okay, we have a heart, we have a stone, we have a dagger. Or if it's a romantic comedy and she decorates her own shoes, then I have sneakers, I have Sharpies, I
Mhm.
have color, I have lightness, I have comedy. It's completely different
Right.
moods. So
Mhm.
I want to know your tone. Like, give me your tone first, and then we build on that.
Right. That's brilliant. Yeah, 'cause I
So
I I do think
if you're an author, think about the tone first,
right.
because that's the foundation, right? If we're building a house, this book starts at a blank canvas, and we're gonna go light or dark because we only have 2 options.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you deal with genre mashers? I'm a genre masher.
I think it's really fun, to be honest. I think it's breaking the mold of tradition. Um, so I think it's fun, but I'm a rebellious creative, so I'm like, "Let's
Mhm.
go. Let's blend. Let's create something different." And not everything has to be the same. Not everything has to be in the box, right? I'm okay with it. Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's do something
Yeah.
different. And the thing is to, like, what I tried to remind people is nothing's permanent. If
Mhm.
it's not working, or it doesn't work, or you need slight changes, everything is changeable.
Mhm.
Like you said, the example of doing everything, like, perfectly to a scene, and then finding 2 weeks later they had to change the cover because it didn't fit.
Yeah.
Everything is changeable.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
exactly. Well, and the nice thing with you too, because there's also, like, I can just feel a lot of, just in the collective unconscious of authordom, I can just feel all the, like, "But it costs money."
Yes.
all of that coming up. But one thing that I've always admired about you is you're very much a girl's girl, right? Like you help you also like you do the work for people, but you also help people learn how to do it for themselves. And
100%.
which I think that is really really interesting um, because, like, just knowing it's that kind of abundance mindset, right? Like, knowing there's enough you only have so many hours in a day, there's only so many covers you wanna do. There's genres that you don't
Yeah.
that you, like, can't do or not interested in or whatever, like, so to help
Right.
people learn how to, like, do these things for themselves, because just finding the tone, like, even what you said, finding the tone and building that on that foundation is, like, works for anything, works for any genre, any style, anything like that, and so, if you can talk about your school and how you kind of, like, started your programs.
Um, well, I started I started in Facebook groups actually, which is crazy, but, one of my favorite stories is that I had a client, who was an author, but then she was like, "I wanna learn how to do this for myself," and I'm
Hmm,
like, "Okay." She was in school, graphic design school, and she specifically wanted to learn the tools to make book covers,
mhm.
and then I came out with my program, my first beta program, and she quit school because I taught her more than school was teaching her, and she now has a successful, book cover design business, which is amazing. She's
Yeah.
works for big names, book boxes, all kinds of fun stuff, so
Oh,
it's
that's
really amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, and for me, like you said, there's enough to go around. Learning the foundations so that you're good at what you do, I think is more of my like, hey, if you're gonna do this, do it right. And
Mhm,
I would rather you have the tools because there's not a lot of education around like book cover design specifically. There's
mm,
education in design or there's education in like, I don't know, graphic work for like businesses and things like that, but not specifically like book covers and genres and attacking certain genres. So anything that I feel like I'm good at, foundationally, I'm a graphic designer. Like those
mhm.
foundations will never go away. But then I want to, like, show everyone what I know specifically and how to build upon it because your skills are built like, you can build upon it, and pretty soon you won't need me. You'll be so good at this that you can attack anything. Then you just have to decide how much you wanna take on because
Yeah.
now you're a professional.
Yeah.
Um but for me, it's sharing is caring, lift as you climb, abundance mindset. There's no way in the world that I could handle all of the work. So why would I? Why not share
Mhm.
knowledge so that other people can succeed? And if you have the foundational skills, right, to do it right, you can go on and be like, well, let me test my covers. I
Mhm.
want to just create something simple um, to do a test based on my genre, based on what Regina has taught me, and you're able to see what, like, people actually respond to.
Yeah. Yeah, and just that, like, sharing of knowledge and stuff like that is really nice. Like, even in the beginning when I was, doing design, like, because self-publishing was in its kinda heyday, there was there was almost a pseudo celebrity status to cover designers. Like,
Yes,
it was
I
such a
remember.
weird and I like, there were a couple kinda bad seeds in so, like, one of the reasons why I've stuck with you and your career throughout all of these years too is because you've always been so focused on positivity and helping other authors and other designers. Like, I remember reaching out to you when I was a very first baby designer, right? And asking you a question and you very graciously answered and you helped like it was I had an insecurity about something and I asked you about it and you like helped me out with things and stuff like that. And that's always stuck with me and I always remembered that. But like one reason why I got out of the industry too, like and went back to writing was just kind of like there was so much like I kinda got targeted and was sort of, like,
Mm,
bullied out of it, like, every time I would release a cover, there was, like, a select group of folks who would be like, "Oh, well, something like you're just copying that designer or you're and I'm like, "Dude, they're romance books." Like, there's only so much you can do with a romance book. Like, there is copying and then there is industry standard, and they're not the same thing, and so there was just, like, a few pockets of this, like, extreme toxicity, but you always kinda, like, stayed out of it, stayed above it, stayed away from it,
Mhm.
and also,
Still do.
and you're like, "I'm too busy building an empire. I have no time for this nonsense," right? Like
I don't have time for bullshit. I really I keep my shit so, like, positive. I'm like a unicorn over here, guys.
uh-huh,
I really don't have time for cattiness. I don't have time for bullying. I was bullied as a kid, so there is no way that I will ever be involved. I don't
uh-huh,
want to have an opinion about somebody unless I make it myself, and even if I have an opinion about somebody myself, it keeps to myself
uh-huh,
because that's professional and that is kindness and that is, um, running a business that is, I wanna say professional again, but it's more than
mhm,
that. It's integrity, it's honor, and respect. Like, I respect people. I want people to win,
mhm,
and, everyone's gonna do themselves or, whatever vibe they're on, but I personally just I want everybody to win, and I'm gonna be that cheerleader, and if you have something negative to say, you can I can stick my fingers in my ear and walk away. Like, I don't really have there's so much good in the world, and we need to
uh-huh,
perpetuate more of that,
uh-huh.
and it just negativity just doesn't sit well with me, and I understand that it's part of the world, but it's already part of the world, so why would I also be involved in it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and a lot of that has evened out because it's no longer the golden age, right? Like, everything's sort of evened out, and it just is what it is, and there's editors and, designers and authors and all sorts of people just doing their thing, and it's definitely, like, a lot more of a neutral ground these days,
I feel like
but
it, yeah.
yeah, so that's good. I do, when I started getting out of design, I had one
Mhm.
client that I just loved, and I
Let her
couldn't
go.
let her go, right? And I was just like,
Mhm,
"She's so wonderful and she's so great," and I'm just so like I just kept designing covers just for her, and then one day she emails me and she told me that she was taking your course to learn how to do
mhm.
her own covers, and I was like, "Oh, yay!" And I, like, I gave her all her her Photoshop files. I'm like, "Just take them." Like, usually that's not a thing,
No.
you do not give
Yes.
up source
No.
files. I'm like, "Just don't say that I designed them. I'm, like, no longer don't credit me at all. It's all you. These are all yours, but, like, here you go. Use these, play with them in your
Play
class
with
and whatnot."
them,
But I
build
was
on
so
them.
excited that she was
I
learning
love
from you.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Um Yeah, I think there's something empowering about, being able to learn this stuff yourself there's some pride attached to it. Like when I learn something new and I'm like, I got it, I'm like, hey, I'm a badass. So I'm like, I want to be able to infuse that with other people too. So when people take my course and they see success, even if it's just like, I feel proud of this design, I feel proud of this because I did it and I followed
Mhm.
your instruction. Look, I'm not one of those people like do this and like you have to do this. I'm not like a
Right.
creativity is boundless. There's no box for it. But I do like if you build on the foundations, which I
Yeah.
teach, like the foundational piece of design, not just for book covers, but design itself,
Mhm.
you can build on it and Photoshop literally is limitless and
Yeah.
I want people to feel empowered by it, not scared by it. And
Mhm.
I think, I don't know, in the way that I teach, I try to keep everything in layman's terms. Like I want this to understand. Like people go
Mhm.
and take Photoshop like tutorials or whatever and people are like over bro jargon and I'm like, that's confusing as shit. Why don't you just
Yeah.
break it down and be like, hey, if you just I have like the blackout method. I'm like, if you just switch this to black, you can black it out. Like black out,
Yeah.
white in, black out, white in.
Yeah.
And people were like blown away by that, like by layer masks and stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
it's so simple if we just break it down in a way that people understand it. I don't want to
Yeah.
this like in my Photoshop newbies course, which is basically you've never even installed Photoshop. We're gonna go in
Mm.
and install it. We're gonna create your first design in there. It's gonna be so easy. You won't even know that you just like understood what you were doing.
Right. Yeah, and Photoshop is very intimidating. They are also getting better with not being so, like, elitist, right? Like, when I was in design school, oh, geez, that was, like, 2006,
They were the
I think.
one
Yeah, the one and, like, you had to pay three grand for the whole
for
like,
the CD.
the CD that you put in your computer, and you're, like, $5,000
Man.
right? They're, like, the entry level, like, there's just the access to do things now is so
Oh,
much
man.
easier, and it's just, like, if you can help people do things for themselves, especially, like, little starting out rookie writers, right? Like, who just
100%.
they wanna get their book out, but we're no longer in that, like, "I wrote a book, I
Golden
published a
age,
book,
yeah.
we're done,"
Yep.
and we don't have to think about, like, editing. Now there's so much more high production value that there's so much more
So
pressure to, like, really have your visuals on point and your aesthetic figured out and whatnot, but I'm curious,
yeah.
from a designer's point of view, what are your thoughts on that? That I think it's kind of gets people stuck, and I don't think it's as deep as people think it is, but as far as having everything perfect and a whole PR package and a whatnot. If you're just writing your first book, let's say I just wrote my first book and I like came to you and I'm like, I want to design a cover or I don't have the money to do this kind of stuff. Like what would you say would be like the most important things to kind of keep an eye on from a design selling perspective?
I think that market research is going to be your best friend. Understanding where the market is and what people are buying. Again, it's like market research before you pull any triggers. That's going to set your foundation, right? That's going to set your tone. This is like I'm a newbie author. I'm a first time going in. I'm going to publish my own book summer 2026. Okay, great. So, foundationally, what are you writing and what are people reading? And the market research of what's out there visually. That's going
Mhm,
to be your first, like, driving point. Then once you have that in your mind, you're like, "Okay, I understand what people are looking for based on what I'm writing." That can be your guide. Like, follow that thread because
mhm,
history is showing you a trend. History is showing you what people are clicking on, what people are reading, what people are going crazy for. So, if you fall into that, then you know that you're at least guiding yourself properly. Because if you go and write a romantic comedy, but it looks like a dark romance because
mhm,
you're like, "Oh, he said this joke," or there's a I don't know, a dungeon scene, I don't know, whatever.
mhm.
You're gonna mismarket yourself and you're gonna miss the mark, and people are gonna be like, "Well, it's not really what I'm into. It's not what I signed up for."
Yeah.
So really your market research before you even get to design. I This is something that I even teach in my courses. I want you to do the research first. Go and find what fits. That way that you're not so far from the mark that people don't understand visually what they're getting into. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
They need to understand the direction visually
Yeah.
of the tone in which they're selling into.
Okay,
So
that's really it's really interesting too because this is, like, starting to lean really into so I, like, pulled the cards before the interview to kind of, like, guide me and my questions and stuff like
mhm,
that, and the central card is all about creative authority. It's about
mhm,
emotional authority and about understanding, and so, like, I feel like that ties perfectly into, like, what you're talking about because it's also not necessarily when you're doing the market research, it's not necessarily what's the most popular. It's what people are looking for based on what you are writing. That was the key. I just wanted to repeat that what you said because I think that's the key there. I think especially with social media and with trope marketing and with this like I find marketing very shallow these days, especially with
mhm.
social media, like 4-second video of some quote of some guy growling every guy growls in every romance book. It's not enough for me anyways, and so I'm like, "What
Mhm.
does this mean? What is this about? Why is he growling? Like, is this sexy or is this dangerous?" I don't know,
Right,
um,
right.
but I just, like, wanted to highlight that it's not just what's trending and just what's popular and just what's selling millions of dollars of copies. If that's not what you write, that's okay. You don't
That's okay.
have to, fit
It's
yourself
based around what
into
you're writing
Mhm,
about, what your emotional drive is, what again, so it's like, you're taking the market research, you're finding a tone, you're following a
mhm,
thread, right? But then you're you're funneling it down into what you're writing,
Mhm.
what your visuals are, and how then we go back to my questionnaire and we're pulling all this information. So there's a thread, right? But it's
Mhm.
not like you're locked into this box. It's like we follow a thread because we understand that there is obviously a supply and demand, right? If you're
Mhm.
writing like I don't know, space time romance, space romance with a time, what's a you shift
Time
times,
travel?
time. Yep,
Ti
that's the one.
There you go.
Ah, you're blending these genres, so you might not have a lot of market research to actually compare yourself against, right?
Mhm.
So you understand time travel and you understand space and like sci-fi, but now you're blending the two. So
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I understand there's a thread to follow, but there's also a place for me to make my own
Mhm.
spot. So, yes, there's something to follow. There's like a pathway in trends and what's popular and what's moving and things like that. But I also believe highly in creating content that's unique to you.
Mhm.
And yes, you want a cover that's going to sell, right? So you're
Mhm.
taking both of these genres and you're blending them together, but you're not going like so crazy that you can't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't like that's like, I don't want people to pigeonhole themselves to something because someone says the market is here. You have to write to this
Mhm.
market. No, no, write for yourself and then follow the thread of market research because that's the tone is important because we're going to
Yeah.
create a visual based on that. But
Yeah.
don't pigeonhole yourself into being like, okay, well, these are selling a millions of copies. Well, okay, great, awesome, but what about you? Because
Yeah.
you're right, you created something that's important to you. Especially I feel like every writer, every book they write is they're like, "Oh, that's my baby. That's my baby. That's my baby." These are all your small book babies. Like, don't put don't put so much pressure on yourself um, that you lose yourself in the process, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Creativity is
And
such a gift.
Mhm.
Like, the gift that you hold as a creative, so powerful.
Mhm.
And if you're creating but not for yourself, for your innate craft, you can easily burn out and lose yourself because you're
Mhm.
following something that doesn't necessarily mean, abundance. It just means that you're following something out of desire, lust, greed, whatever, um, or following someone else's plan or agenda, but you're
Mhm.
losing yourself in the process because 'cause you're not actually like creating for yourself. So, I know that that's pretty, like, philosophical and a little bit broader than the question you asked, but, I want people to be able to find in market research in the design aspect, follow the thread, but in the writing aspect, the creation process, don't lose yourself because of
Mhm.
trends or because that linear, trend line. Um, craft is craft, creation is sacred, and that's
Yeah.
yours, and definitely utilize your craft to the fullest extent, and fuck trends. In reality, you can
Mhm.
make your own. You
Yeah.
need to be so
Uh,
audacious and so ballsy that you can be the trend setter, okay?
mhm. And I find
Period.
that a lot of where I think people get tangled up in this
Mhm,
philosophical thread is this idea that success within these spaces is not due to steps. We get really caught up on what were the steps. So this author did really well. They came out with this book and it exploded and it was this huge thing. And all of a sudden, all of these other authors want to follow the steps that author took, but they didn't get that success because they did this, then this, then this, then this. They did that. They had that success because it came from that creative core of themselves. And so what you don't wanna emulate what people are doing, you wanna emulate the passion that they have for what they're doing, if
mhm,
that makes sense, right? So if you're doing a space-time travel romance and that is what your whole heart wants you to do, then you might be the person who sets the new trend of
That
space time travel romance books, right? Like this idea. I had a conversation the other day with somebody. We were talking about like some of these folks who have set, like Rebecca Yarros was the example with this, like
mhm,
military is she knows it's her background, it's her
mhm,
whole thing, right? Like she gets it, and
mhm.
so I can't write a military romance. I'm from Canada, so I don't understand any of that, but I can take that passion for a thing that I understand and I know, and I can put my whole heart into it like she did with that series, and maybe that'll be the next new thing, right? It's not the steps, it's
The
the creative
passion.
core. Yeah.
Mhm. That the purpose, the passion drives the purpose.
Mhm.
And, the thing is like, uh, I don't know much about Rebecca's idea behind, like, the Dragon series, but maybe that sat with her for
Mhm.
10 plus years. Maybe she wrote military because it's what she knew,
Mhm.
and she had these stories within her, but maybe there was that story of the dragon sitting within her for years. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know. But the thing is like,
Yeah.
eventually, I think that passion is going to come out, and sometimes, like, you just have to just follow that intuitive drive, like, that intuitive
Mhm.
thread that's saying, "Write me, write me, write me, write me." It's
Yeah.
there, it's percolating, it's saying, I deserve a place in this world, create me.
Mhm.
And I think you do that enough, you listen enough, and you create based on that passion, that core that you were talking about, success is going to find you.
Mhm.
There aren't there isn't steps to success. Consistency
Mhm.
and passion create success, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because you're consistently showing up with your own creative passion, and that no one has that except for you. Whatever you
Mhm.
have driving and bubbling under the surface of you, that's yours. That's like creatively yours. From the universe to you,
Mhm.
it was gifted. What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
And when you outpour those gifts, success will find you.
Mhm. Yeah, 'cause, people attach to the energy of it, right? And not
Mhm,
necessarily even what it is, because some of these trends that are setting and some of these stories that are being kind of invented, and that's the beauty of self-publishing, is that these stories traditional publishing tends to churn out the same thing. Um,
mhm,
some take risks, but not a lot.
mhm,
They sell what sells. And, but self-publishing has kind of been a place where authors can experiment and they can play around with these new concepts or these twists or tweaks
mhm,
of different things, and, um, like, with different representation and expanding on diversity and all of this kind of stuff. It's just, like, really super important, because once somebody sees it, and then they can attach to the energy of it, and if it has that collective energy, if it's something, like, for example, that I don't know if you watch it, that Heated Rivalry show is just, like, completely overtaken all of it. It's based on a gay romance novel about 2 hockey players that fall in love, and it's exploding all over the place, and, people are watching it like they showed the season finale at a sports bar,
oh
and it
my
like
god. That's
and in this
amazing.
society, like, which is super cool to me because, like, in this, there's this sports romance being shown at a sports bar that was packed. Like, I saw this video of it, and it was completely packed, and, like, the 2 guys, they kiss in the end, and that kinda stuff, and everyone's, like, cheering like it was a touchdown or
The
a
sports
goal
win.
or a sports win, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Yeah.
sportsy. I don't sports at all.
Neither am I, it's okay.
Yay,
I'm like,
sports
a
team.
goal, a
Yeah.
touchdown, I don't know what it's called.
They
Okay,
they
that's
got
cool. We'll
points.
move on. They got
Yeah.
points. Yay.
Yeah, but it's just kind of cool to see, like, that energy shifting. There's nothing new about sports romance, there's nothing new about male-male romance, there's nothing new about any of that, but it's just this combination of space and time and all of these different
Yep,
things that the world is kind of, well, not the whole world, but pockets of the world are ready for this kind of thing to be more mainstream, and it's just kind of a really cool thing to
it's
see,
refreshing.
but you can't there's no, like, you can't business that. You can't try and figure out, well, what exactly was the steps to lead to that. level of success. Like, you can't do that, and you'll, like, drive yourself
I
nuts trying to figure it out.
I was gonna say you probably burn out before you can finish that passion project that you're so passionate about because you're analyzing too much.
Mhm.
There's what is this? Decision fatigue,
Analysis paralysis.
overstimulation, analysis paralysis, like all of that comes into play, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody
Mm.
else. Like I'll sit and stew, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Just
Yeah.
rip the Band-Aid off and do it."
I do what
So
a coach called, I was working with this coach once, and she called it procrastinating. That's what I do. I'm like, "I need to know more.
procrast
Before I start doing the thing, I need to know more. I need to take this class, read this article, watch this show, read this craft
Right.
book, and then I'll sit down and I'll do the thing." And yeah, and it's just another form of procrastination. It's just a fear
Yeah,
of getting
let's
started.
Yeah, let's not and say we did,
Mhm.
instead. Let's just
Yeah.
go, rip the Band-Aid off, do the project, right, with the fervor that's inside of you, and put it out there. The thing is like, what's the worst that could happen?
Mhm.
You're not gonna stop publishing. You're
Yeah.
not gonna stop writing. You're not gonna stop having passion for it. You have the
Yeah.
drive within you, so I like, put it out there. Rip the Band-Aid
Mhm.
off. Don't get an analysis paralysis. Don't procrastinate. Don't try to make everything perfect. Trust me, there are many ways that something can go viral.
Mhm.
There's so many ways something can pop off. There's so many different steps to success, and everyone you talk to will have a different step-by-step process. So if
Mhm.
you're following everybody else, you're just gonna like, procrastinate because you don't know which steps to take, and instead,
Yeah.
just create your own within a thread. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like, I feel like if you have, like, a funnel moving upwards, and upwards is like, "Okay, I published my book and people are reading it." Inside of that funnel, it's like you like lines crossing everywhere to get to the top because
Yeah.
there isn't a straight line to your goal being finished or your project being published or your product being launched or whatever. We're all the
Mhm.
squiggly lines inside the funnel moving upwards.
Yeah, and
And we're
it's
crossing
not.
paths and we're sharing
Yeah.
knowledge and we're trying to help each other get to the top. But there's no
Mhm.
linear line. There's not one ladder that we're all trying to climb up at the same time.
No,
Yeah.
no, and it's your own, and it's that idea of trust, that, like, trusting yourself and your own intuition,
Mm.
and, like, knowing how do you, how do you sit with something and be like, "Is this right for me, or am I just, like, having FOMO, or am I, feeling
Mhm.
pressured by finances, or, like,
Mhm.
where does all of this external stuff end, and, like, my own desire to write
For
this specific novel or this specific genre, or, where does that begin? And listening to that it's a practice, right? Like.
It really is. So let's ask that question. When do you know you're in your head and when do you know that it's literally intuition knocking, saying, "Write me, create me, put me out."
Mhm. Yeah, which is, like, that's also interesting too, because the 2 on the spread that I did, the 2 wing cards are the Ace of Swords reversed and the Fool, and the Fool is kind of that, like, jump in, just
Mhm.
do it wholeheartedly, happily, be willing to fumble around and, fall
Mhm.
down the hill kinda thing for a brand new
Laugh at
adventure.
yourself along the way.
Yeah, and the Ace of Swords reversed is much more like that's interesting because it more represents this idea of decision. Like, the Ace of Swords upright is more about, like, having that thought, having that decision, being really firm in your, like, it's the sword of Arthur, right? It's the,
Mhm.
"No, I know what I'm doing." But reversed, it's more like listening to what other people are telling you to do. And so the difference between the cups are very feeling and the swords, and it's all cups are swords, and then the Fool. And cups are feeling, swords are thinking. So where are you thinking? Where are you feeling? Where are you letting your
Interesting.
yeah, where are you
Thoughts
letting your heart
overtake your
lead you?
feeling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and where are you doing things because that's what everyone else does, or that's what you're supposed to do?
Right. Supposed to do.
Yeah.
What linear steps do I need to take in order to get to
Mhm.
success? That's when you're in your head. I think,
Mhm.
you know, legacies are built when you are consistent in your intuition and putting out what your heart literally can't stop. thinking about.
Mhm.
You have ideas and they're intuitively dropped into your body, your mind,
Mhm.
and they're consistent. Usually they knock pretty loud. From all the creatives
Mhm.
I've talked to, they're like, "Oh, I just had this idea and it wouldn't shut up."
Mhm.
Like, characters started talking to me. I'm having a whole psych psychological, like, breakdown because there's conversations going in my head with people that are make believe.
Mhm.
And when those things I feel like are knocking, 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 and you're over here like, "Well, they're talking over here in my head, but I need to know, like, what trend am I following? Am I gonna write this to that genre so that it's more successful?
Mhm.
Or or am I just gonna write it based on what I hear? What's driving this conversation or these characters to be alive right now?"
Yeah, it's
And
funny with oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that idea of where you're like, "Universe, give me a sign," and your characters are like, "Hello? I've been
"Hi, I'm your
Hi,
sign.
I've been giving you
We're
signs."
having a whole fight scene up here, and you're not doing anything about it."
And you're like, "I just don't know what I should do," and they're just like, "Hello?"
"Hi, please create me, put me on paper."
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes for anything, like, well, I'll just tell you, like, what I've
Mhm.
procrastinated on because it's very real, like, I have, a series of images, that I created just because they were in my mind, and I was like, it's a funny story of origin. I took my kids to a water park, which was, um, I think mostly Greek mythology based, and I was sitting in the wave pool, and Poseidon was in the painted on the wall of this wave pool, and I just stood there like a blank stare looking at this Poseidon on the wall, and I just looked at him. I'm like, why are all gods portrayed as white? And just a little background, my kids are biracial, so I'm heavy in diversity and I love representation.
Mhm.
And I was like, Why is Poseidon white?
He wouldn't be.
Why can't we have more gods and goddesses that could look different than a
Mhm.
typical white person?" And that idea dropped, and then it like I start like it just kept coming. It was like a flood of
Mhm.
in images and recreation of these gods and goddesses that we've followed for a millennia. And, I have all of these images that I've created just out of the sake of creating for me, and they're sitting on my hard drives, and I haven't
Mm.
created the book that I said I was going to create, and I haven't created the oracle deck that I said I was going to create. Um, and so 2026 is my challenge. My challenge is to finish the damn book with, it's gonna be, um, kind of like a prompted poetry type of thing to I love to create in a way that inspires other creations, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Mhm. Yep.
So I like to prompt people in the, like, "Oh, okay, let's get the brain moving." Because 'cause I'm such a creative that I'm like, "Come with me, let's create all these things. Because I could give you one image to 30 people, and 30 people are gonna create 30 different stories." And
Yeah.
I love that. So with, like, a guided, like, journal/workbook, slash workbook, whatever, and then the oracle deck to find guidance when you might need some.
That's
So
super
that's
cool.
something I've procrastinated on since 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. I have my 2026, like, phrase is "close the loop." It's like casting the
Ooh,
circle, and so, this is the year that I wanna close the loop on some of those things that I've been working on, like my sci-fi trilogy. I have to finish the trilogy. I published the first book in 2017, and I just got an email a few days ago from a reader being like, so I'm reading this
TikTok
book and"
lady.
yeah, she's like, "I would like to politely ask you if you're not finishing this, why?" I'm like, okay." Sometimes public shaming, works. I'm like, "Okay, I'll get
Yeah,
on
it's
it."
like,
Like, and they're writing on it
"Excuse
right
me, I'm
away.
so sorry." Yes,
Yeah, I'm
let me
like,
get on
"I
that."
Like, I wrote it, I had it edited, and then I just kinda it just kinda sat. I mean, I had a big health thing that I had to figure out, and I put writing on hold till I got a hold of my health, and so now I'm back into everything, and that's what I wanna do this year is just close those loops because I feel like I'll never be able to fully move on until, like, there's a couple sometimes things can just be left. Sometimes you're just like, "I started that, it's not working, my heart's not in it, I don't wanna do it anymore."
Right,
Moving on. But there
right.
are some of those things, like, I procrastinate on things and I don't finish things because I'm afraid of finishing them. Because I'm
Right.
like, this sci-fi series that I've been working on forever, I wrote it in 2011, and I didn't publish it
Ooh.
until, like, 2017, and then, like, I wrote the second one, and then I kind of, like, panicked and stopped writing it. So because it's so close to me,
Mm,
um,
uh-huh.
it was just kinda like, when it's done, what do I do? I'm gonna grieve it. There's gonna be, like, it's like not it's like helicopter parenting. Like, I'm just not quite
Mm.
ready to give it to the world just for them to, be mean to my baby. But,
Is it my babies? These are all
yeah.
my babies, they're so close to me.
But, and I'm just curious if there
But think
was
of
any.
also the impact.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If readers are emailing me from Australia out of the blue being like, "Excuse me, miss, I would like to
"Excuse me, ma'am."
respectfully ask me why you're not finishing this series because 'cause I'm reading it." I'm like,
Correct.
whoops." Um,
Mm.
obviously, it is something like and even if for me, even if one person reads it, that's fine. If one person gets some sort of value out of it, that's also good. Because 'cause I'm gonna write no matter what. I write because I have to, not
Exactly.
because I
Right.
want to. But
That's
I'm
what I call the
wondering for
power of one.
you. Oh, yeah?
Mhm.
I'm
So,
wondering for you if there was, like, if there's anything you are willing to share or anything you're aware of as to, like, why are you still sitting on this project?
hmm.
And if you're not willing to share it, you
Well,
just don't.
no, no,
I
no.
respect boundaries.
I'm no, 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 no. For me, I think there was time at first, I think it was time management. There was this, like, uh, I'm good at working for everyone else
Mhm,
and really it's hard for me to finish projects that are my own, um, because I'm a lover girl, so I love helping other people.
mhm,
So when it comes to myself, I'm like, maybe later. Maybe later." So it's really hard for me to like tap into time for myself,
mhm,
because I'm always so concerned about like making sure that everyone else is good and everyone else has got their stuff completed. And at the time, my kids were younger,
mhm,
so there was a lot more attention in making sure that my kids were good and my business was good and that I was giving my attention to all the other little businesses that I had created. So I had made time to make the images, but not necessarily. I don't want it to be just a book. And sometimes
mm,
I feel like I don't want it to be like a photo book. I want it to be something that actually creates like a ripple effect of inspiration. And
right.
so I'm a big believer in, like, divine timing, things happen for a
Yeah.
reason. Life happened to me and, some personal things, happened and COVID, and then,
Mhm,
I think it really, like, created the circumstance in which the book was supposed to be,
mhm,
which is more spiritual, which that brings me to another loop, which is I was afraid to say that I'm kinda psychic and that,
okay.
I'm more spiritual than I am religious, and
Mhm,
that, I believe in God, but it not necessarily has to be God named, universe, source, God,
right.
whatever. I was afraid to publicly put my views out there, which oracle decks can be viewed as very occult and witchy,
Mhm,
and these spiritual type of guidance things can be looked at in a way that might make me a public, like, "Oh, well, she's just a witch," or,
Uh-huh.
"She's devil worshiping," or whatever.
Yeah.
Because whatever views that you have can be projected onto me, and I
Yeah.
really am just a good person that wants to create something that is
Mhm.
impactful for those who it's meant to be. So,
Right.
it was, like, part of me not wanting to publicly proclaim that I am a spiritual person who believes in, like, divine timing and source and
Mhm.
manifesting, and energy is, you know, just that public view. So it's like
Mhm.
it all happened in the way that it was supposed to, but then there was obviously my own um roadblocks that I put up because I was like, "Oh, I don't want people to know that I'm spiritual. I'm
Right.
just in business." You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to wake up to the fact that yes, I'm a business, but I'm also a person running the business, and I'm the face
Mhm.
of that. And part of me is infused in how I do business, how I interact with people, and what my spiritual, like, views are interweaved with how I
Mhm.
do business, like, being a girl's girl, teaching others, wanting to lift as you climb, positive impact, positive talk, cheerleading, all of that is spiritually infused behind the
Mhm.
scenes, and I just didn't wanna publicly put that out there. But now I don't really care because of the life circumstances that I went through, and now I
Right.
know that it's meant to be this
Mhm.
thing.
There is a big movement now that's happening. Well, I see it because that's my whole existence, right? That's the reason why this podcast exists. It's all about bringing feminine energy into business and bringing cyclical work. Like I've really started leaning into cycles and seasons that as
Mhm,
somebody who and I don't mean feminine energy in the gendered sort of way. I mean like the balance of
mhm,
feminine and masculine
mhm.
and the 24-hour cycle versus the 28-day cycle and
28.
the sun versus moon and stuff like that. That's kind of where I
Mhm,
come from it, but I find there's so many I work with a lot of female creatives like in my real life. I
mhm,
have like everyone I know in my personal life is going to love this episode and love you because we're all like
mm,
exactly like that. Like spiritual feminine energy, like really wanting to try and bring in more of a nurturing sense, less of that like scarcity and that like
mhm,
problem solving and more of that community and creativity is collaboration in my opinion
mhm.
that in
It
order
really is.
to be fully creative that you have to collaborate. It's like I don't know if you follow the Elizabeth Gilbert with her Big Magic book or whatever, like that
Mhm,
idea that these energies move through us. I believe in the collective unconscious and that we all
mhm,
move in and out of it and that we all get these like it's super cool when two people come up with a similar idea almost
mhm,
instantaneously where it's like
mhm.
that's the energy that's really brewing. That's what wants to come out in the world right now. And so
In the
it's
collective,
just
yep.
sparking energy in all sorts of different people. And if you're willing to grab a hold of it and make something of it. And so, like, I like saying that divine timing. So, because sometimes we put things off because we know deep down that it's not quite time yet.
It's not time yet. Mhm. So I didn't understand that. I think it was just a resistance, and I didn't
Hmm.
understand why I was resistant because I wasn't fully cognizant of where I was spiritually,
Hmm.
and where I wanted to be spiritually, and I knew that there was something there, like, I did a book cover for it and everything just stopped, like, I halted everything.
Hmm.
I even stopped creating the series, and I have ideas for more in the series and everything, but it just halted, and, that divine timing really does comes knocking later and be like, "Ha, this is why," and now I'm cognizant of the why.
Hmm.
So that I think it makes it more powerful when you do pick it back up, and you're like, "Okay, I understand now what it's meant to do."
Hmm.
And that energy now is the right energy versus forced energy because I was supposed to create it. Um, because you're like, "Oh, well, I have all this. What am I doing with it?" I created because I felt like I needed to create them. I didn't
Hmm.
understand why. Now I
Yeah.
understand why.
Yeah.
But I had to go through life. I had to go through life and be self-aware enough to, like, look back, reflect, understand, um, do my own inner work and healing and everything to understand what the
Hmm.
impact of these images are actually for.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important. I have a book that I've been working on for 12 years now and it's like a gender bent Robin Hood vampires, high fantasy, and, I've
I love that.
written I've written the first 50 pages multiple times over the years, and it's just one of those moments where I've always been like, "No, not yet. It's not quite right. This isn't quite it. This isn't,"
Mhm.
and then last year, I wrote the whole thing in just like a fever dream. There was like this moment, my mom is Romanian and my whole maternal line is like very Romanian.
Huh.
And so, there was this moment where I was like, "Oh, they're vampires." Like, before it was just a high fantasy, and I'm like, "This sounds like every other Tolkien book ever written." Like, it's just not right yet. It's just but I knew my voice wasn't there yet, that I wasn't
Mhm.
a skilled enough writer yet to release this because this is my passion project. This is, like, the thing my therapist
The
calls it
thing.
my bestseller. She's like, "Have you written your bestseller yet?" Because she's just like, she knows that it's that story is that important to me that I will wait until
Mhm.
it's the right time to finish it, and I will continue to work towards it. But there have been a few moments where I'm like, "Okay, now I know. If I would have rushed that project out and would have released it, it wouldn't have
Mhm.
been what it is now." And so, like,
Mhm.
now I'm working through the edits and I'm, like, really leaning into this slow process of creation. Like, I'm waiting for these people to tell me what's happening and sometimes they tell me
Right.
what's happening
You're
and I'm like,
trusting the
"That's
process.
stupid. I don't want that to happen." Like I'm in a fight with the main character right now, and people who don't know writing and don't know creation, don't like creativity, don't know, that that's a real thing.
It is a very real thing
Like,
from,
I'm mad
what
at
I've heard.
her. Yeah.
They're like,
And
why are you talking to me like that? That's not the way it's supposed to happen."
Yeah, I'm like, "You
Um,
can't do that," and she's like, "Well, I have to," and I'm like, "Damn it, you do." And so now we're taking a break and we're like, I'll come back to it and that kind of stuff. So, like, there is a balance between knowing when you're procrastinating and when you are just, like, waiting, and that's where that intuition comes from and that
comes
really
in.
leaning into that feminine energy of, like,
Mhm.
knowing when to nurture, when to be like, because feminine energy isn't all just, like, flowers and fun and what like, Mother Nature is called
Yeah.
Mother Nature for a reason, and she can be a real bitch sometimes, right?
Bitch.
Like
Absolutely. She can be a force.
yeah, and it's that same kind of thing, when to push, when to hold back, when to nurture, when to strive, and, like, leaning into those kinds of cycles of creativity and not pushing too hard. But with business and with selling and and that's why I was interested in your perspective on all of it too, is because, like, design is about like, giving that story to the public and having them
Mhm.
understand what it is with basically no information, and that's, like, a super tricky thing to be able to do.
Um, yeah, I think it is. It's a talent that I'm very aware of that is unique.
Mhm.
Um, because we are literally translating words into images. Um, and I find it particular see, I look at you and I'm like, "She just wrote a whole world." And I'm like, "Okay, so I took a couple words and I turned them into an image. Woo,
But
fantastic."
I would argue that that's harder because I have 6 books, each at, like, 150,000 words to get this point across. You have 1 image to get a whole point across, and, like, I can't write short stories. I have tried, I cannot. They are so hard because every word matters, everything matters, and I'm, like,
Yes.
so verbose. I just wanna talk for hours, right?
Yes,
So it's
I
a
can't
skill.
imagine. Well, I agree. Now that I've talked to, like, artists and creatives and writers, I understand that it's a skill. It's a skill that a lot of people have a hard time, um um, not translating, like, converting,
Mm,
because a lot of the times you wanna do everything in one image, and
mhm,
that's where it's like less is more, keep it simple, by still, telling a story.
mhm,
And so I'm personally like I'm like, okay, I have talent. I do. I'm
mhm.
not that's not coming from a cocky place. That's coming from a self-love place. I know that
Yeah,
I'm talented. I know that I can take somebody's sentence and create something from it.
mhm.
Um, but I can tell you that I'm nowhere near writing a novel. A whole world, like, word for word, writing a novel? That sounds crazy pants to me. Like, just put it like, no, no, you guys, no, 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 no. You guys are like superhumans. I swear to God. Swear to God. I can take, look, give me a paragraph, give me a page, and
Mhm.
I can create a whole commercial. Give me a page, I can create a whole commercial. Give me a paragraph, I can create an image. After that, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Nah, no, too much. You guys, like, I love reading and I love
Mhm.
watching movies. And I know that there's a lot of information to get to that point. I really like creating stories in a shorter, condensed way. So for you, you're
Mhm.
like, "Short stories suck." Me,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Short stories are great because it's condensed and it's impactful,
Yeah.
and I can get my point across in a way that is just quick,
Mhm.
but also maybe mysterious. It's just enough to tantalize the
Mhm.
senses, and like I said earlier, I really love creating things that might have, like, a ripple effect of inspiration. I feel like
Right.
that's kind of like my mark in the world is to create stuff that gets other people creating.
Mhm.
Because I think I don't want creativity to die under the birth of AI. Yeah, we're not gonna go into that whole, black hole. Um, I think that we're in an information overload right now,
Mhm.
and there's too much emphasis on technology that we're not actually getting our hands dirty
Yeah.
enough, and that's creating almost like a chokehold on creativity, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we gotta stop. We gotta get out of ChatGPT, we gotta get out of
Mhm.
AI, and ugh, I don't wanna go down the black hole. I don't wanna go
Mhm.
down there, but I want people to step away from technology, and I know it's our whole lives. I want
Mhm.
people to step away and start, like, touching things. I want people to taste things. I wanna do crazy shit that, like, gets people actually creating again from the
Mhm.
source, not
Yeah.
from the thought, like, "Oh, I have to do this. I somebody did this, I should do that." No, I wanna create something that's like a container for prompting that gets people, like, actively creating again.
Mhm.
Like, we back in the '90s, baby, okay?
Mhm.
We're creating because we have no choice because I made you go and, like, think about something. I made you go and do an activity. I wanna see you innately get back to source
Mhm.
and create from that. I'm
Yeah.
crazy. That's okay. It's alright.
No, I love
Don't
it.
mind me.
I love it. It's like there's no convincing needed over here. It's almost like a process thing, right? Like that creating
Yes,
art in
creative
any
process.
form is about the process, and we've commercialized it to death, right? And this idea that
We
like,
think about it too much.
yeah, yeah, that's
Mhm, we
true.
overthink now.
That's true. I mean, I don't really think people were meant to have access to as much information as we do. Like it's short circuiting. Like to
Yeah,
know
I feel
as
like
much as we
we're in
know.
small loops.
Mm. And
Well,
so just like,
okay, so we have access to all this information, but how much are we actually retaining so we can know
mhm,
everything? Retention is causing attention problems.
mhm,
So we're trying to know everything, but we're not meant to know everything.
no,
We're meant to be curious. I mean, if we wanted to know something that we were curious about back in the '90s, we had to go to the library and pick out the encyclopedia, the books on the topic, and
mhm,
we would learn about it, and then we step away, and
mhm.
that's it.
Yeah, you gotta
You went back
alchemize
to
it.
you you went back to the tree, you went to the park, you rode your bikes with your friends, whatever.
Mhm,
You stepped away from it. Now it's like, "Oh, well, you were talking about XYZ, and now we're gonna serve you the ads, and now you're gonna click on this, and now you're gonna go down this rabbit hole, and now your whole algorithm switches so that no
mhm,
matter what, you can't get away from it."
mhm,
And I feel like we need to step away a little bit,
mhm,
and that's going to create some like, you're gonna have to be disciplined with yourself in order to, like, step away, in order to break the pattern of completely relying on technology
mhm,
for creativity, for, motivation, for whatever. I feel like it's almost doing the opposite. You're not getting creativity, you're not getting motivation. You might be getting a lot of information, but not necessarily
mhm.
action to create.
Yeah, yeah, I have
It's
this
the analysis.
Yeah, I have this thing that I follow that's, it's kind of like, what is it? Create, connect, consume, and collaborate, and those are kind of the
Mhm.
like, I feel like you sort of have to cycle through those 4, and there's that metaphor of being like, is it a metaphor or analogy? I don't know, I'm terrible with that kinda stuff. I just write books for a living, whatever.
I don't know, I just wear words.
That creativity is like a gas tank, right? Like, that you have to
Mhm,
fill it up. You have to go out there and live life and experience things to fill your creativity, but you can also flood the engine, right? Like, you can also
mhm.
be constantly consuming other people's art that you have no idea where you start
What your
and
voice
everyone
is.
else ends and what your voice is and whether you're being influenced or whatever, like, that you can create things. There's nothing new under the sun. Originality doesn't exist, but there is, like, your own personal spin, right? There's your
Mhm,
own personal lens and your voice and things that come from it. So,
mhm,
like, I think it's really important what you were saying, like, you have to disconnect from it. You have to, like, learn what you need, even with the learning, right? Like, one of the things that this
mhm.
coach told me was you learn things as you need to know them. So you come up against a
Right.
wall, you hit a block, and you're like, I need to know this.
I
So
need to
you go out
learn
and you
this,
search
right.
that information, you learn it, you alchemize it, and then you put it into practice. And then you move
Mhm.
on and you keep doing your creative process. But we're being like inundated with so much of other people's art. And now we're at the point where we don't even know if it's real. Every time I open my phone, I'm like, is that real?
Is it
Like, is that even a thing? Does that exist? And some of them are obvious and some of them really aren't obvious at all. And so now I
it's
don't believe
getting harder and
anything.
harder.
Like, you know,
You're like, nothing is real."
yeah, this is just the matrix. We're just
Yep.
starting to see it. It's glitching.
Yep. That's okay.
Yeah,
Nothing's real.
nothing's real.
But yeah, I wanna create something that gets people creating again from the when you feel, like, in your body, that
Mhm.
excitement to create something, and I'm more of, like, a sacral girly, so I get really excited right
Mm,
in, like, the sacral area, and it just builds and it builds and it builds, and I'm like, I need to create this. I need to get my hands dirty. I love this. That's what I like. That's what I want to create in others. I want other people to
mhm,
feel that again without being inundated by too much information. Like I want to do crazy shit. But that's me.
mhm.
I'm a Leo. I'm fiery. I like
Yeah.
yeah, I like to do stupid shit that like gets people excited and maybe out of the box, out of the ordinary type of things. Like, I'm over here, like, I had this crazy idea. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this like container together. People are gonna come in here and we're gonna be creative. I'm just gonna be like, okay, go fill your sink with ice water and stick your hands in the ice water. And then whatever comes to you first is something that you need to be, like, prompted on, like, are you whatever comes to you first, maybe it's a girl trapped under ice, and the feeling in your hands is what she feels, that prickle,
Mm,
and you go and write a scene off of it. You don't have to do anything with it, but guess what it does?
mhm.
It gets you creating,
Yeah.
because you're creating a sensory experience. You
Mhm.
now feel what your character would feel. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to, like, go stab no.
Keep it
We're not
legal.
getting
Keep it
crazy.
legal.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, keep it
Yeah.
sane and legal. Yes, yes. We'll do crazy shit, but not stupid shit.
Yeah.
But I wanna create challenges that get people creating based on sensory experiences and things, so
I love that. That is
yeah,
super
I
cool.
want people to just get back to the creative parts of themselves, the innate creative parts of themselves. Step away from
Mhm.
technology for a second and
Yeah.
just create for the sake of creating.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times, like you said, nothing really is original. We're all prompted or inspired by something or someone or an art piece, a song, a lyric, a sentence, a line in a book, a motivational speech. It doesn't matter. We're all
Mhm.
inspired by things coming at us at all times. So this container would just be a place where people actually just have that access to that. And they don't have to go out and weed themselves through
Mhm.
um all the information coming at you. And this is just a place for like a creative hub to get you out of all of that and into prompted creativity.
Yeah, and sometimes limitations are really handy for especially for creative
Mm,
folks. Because if the
mhm.
like I sometimes struggle with the blank page, but if you give me something, I can work with it, right? Like it's
Yes.
when you can do anything, then that's terrifying. When you have constraints like putting your hands in ice water or, going outside at a certain time or looking at something specific and then what happens from that just gives you enough of a light boundary to, like, be able to
Mhm.
ping around in
To
there.
bounce around, right? Like, let me
Yeah.
ping pong in this boundary, and
Mhm.
that can be a very beautiful constraint. Because if you have yourself, like, limitless boundaries, then your mind is going too far. Like,
Mhm.
you're not giving yourself this box to create within, right? Let's just take it like a perfect, like, analogy or, like, visual here, is that you have a canvas. The
Mhm.
canvas is 12 by 24. You're gonna paint within those constraints.
Mhm.
So this is the same thing. Here's a box, and I'm gonna give you things in this box. And that boundary, you don't have to go ping pong out into outer space. We're
Mhm.
gonna stay within this canvas. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think those constraints can also be very creative. The thing is, like, it's not linear. Creativity
No.
is never linear. We can create within a box, we can create without one.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty of creativity and also its downfall because 'cause you're like, well, it's vast and it's also not.
Yeah. It's everything and nothing all at once.
It's it's everything and nothing all at once.
Yeah. Well, on that
It's
note,
very
so here we are. We've brought people here. They're either designing their own
Mhm.
thing or they're writing and they're listening to themselves and they're playing and they're in the process. What are like your parting words of wisdom?
For me as a creative, I'm just as creative as you guys. Like, as
Mhm.
authors or designers, we all have our innate creativity. So my advice really is foster it.
Mhm.
Create create boundaries for it. Don't lose yourself in thought processes and steps and guides. There Your innate thread that is, like, talking to you, listen to it. Really tap into your intuition. Create for yourself
Mhm.
first. And no matter what, I don't want you to stop because creativity is such a sacred gift, and if you are gifted with creation as your craft for the world, your purpose in this world, there really is such a beauty in what you have that I would hate to see you stop because of XYZ or
Mhm.
life or whatever. Your creativity is a gift, and without it, let's just think about this for a second. We wouldn't have the Never-Ending Story. We
Mhm.
wouldn't have books like Alice in Wonderland. Our world is such a product of the creation that others have and bring to the world. You're one of them. And
Mhm.
together, we create such an incredible, powerful place. And if you think you're small, you're not.
Mhm.
I just want people to be reminded at how powerful they really are and how sacred your gift of creativity really is. What you have is important to the creative collective. We
Mhm.
need you.
Mhm.
Your story, your voice, your creations can be the ripple effect of more, and we
Mhm.
always need more. That will never end.
Mhm. That's awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out with me today, Regina. And you can just let everyone know where they can find you and all of your empire, all of the spokes of your empire.
All of the things.
Yeah.
I'm currently going under a website revision, but it's all, under reginawamba.com. You can see all of my little baby empires and,
Mhm.
what I'm up to next and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Quill and Kettle podcast. If you have found inspiration in this conversation, please share it with a friend or leave a review wherever you are listening. If the cards have brought up anything for you, I would love to hear your interpretations in the comments. And please head to quillandkettle.com to sign up for weekly editor's notes where I talk writing, marketing, and branding from an intuitive perspective. If you would like to go deeper into each episode, be sure to join the Athenaeum for extended tarot reflections as well as behind the scenes and bonus content. So I think you picked up that this show is about thinking for yourself and following your own path, but for legal and ethical reasons, I just have to say it. The views and opinions expressed by the guests of the Quill Kettle podcast do not necessarily represent the views of the podcast or anyone who works for it. All stories portrayed in this podcast are meant for entertainment purposes only and are not meant to be taken as mental health, medical, financial, or business advice.